I'm going to say very briefly the summary because it's important. The summary of all of this is as follows now. That the giving of the Torah, there's two objectives. One is the world, that the mitzvah be fulfilled by Gashmis, and the second is the birur of the Nefesh Bahamis. And the birur of the Nefesh Bahamis is both a achana and a consequence. Hence, Moishe Rabbeinu begins with, did you go down to Mitzrayim? That's the achana dimension. He ends with, do you have Yetzer Hara? That is, as a result of Torah, Nefesh Bahamis is elevated. So there's two kinds of birur, achana and Torah empowered. And the question simply is, okay, that we understand the first intent, that mitzvah sabagashmi is to draw anoichi into the world, atzmus. But how does the birur of Nefesh Bahamis draw atzmus? How petty and our flawed state and our struggle with it, how does that, and why does that mamshech atzmus? That's the question he's asking now. That's basically a summary up until Eis Gimel, which answered the questions he asked, the first question he asked at the end of Eis Aleph, in the paragraph following Eis Aleph. Okay, now Eis Gimel. Yeah, we're good? Okay. May if you had anything to say, insist on it. I guess it applies to everyone. What?
Avoidance of birurim of the achona b'matan Torah. It's not the original matan Torah, it's the every year matan Torah. Avoidance of birurim.
Yeah. You say it happens all the time, you're saying? Yeah.
I'm saying like it's not a one-time event.
No. This is ongoing.
Every year,
No, you say not every year, every day. No, you say not Torah. It's every day. Every day we have the achana dimension, and every day we have the receiving and the empowerment for the birur on a different level. We'll have to see what that means. Excuse me, guys. He says in another pasuk, the pasuk says you should count for yourself the day after Shabbos. It doesn't mean Shabbos, it means the first day of Yom Tov, which is the day where you don't work, so it's also Shabbos. Sheva Shabbos is Tmimis Tiyena. They should 7 perfect weeks they should be. Says in Medrash, when are they perfect? I mean, you count. So the Medrash answers the following words: Bisman she'isol oisin eternal shemakim, when Yidden fulfill the will of Hashem, of the omnipresent. Now, what's the pshat in the Medrash? So the Mefarshim on the Medrash explain. They offer several explanations. It's a very strange statement. What does it mean? So here's the simple answer at the most elementary answer of the Mefarshim on the Medrash. This whole count period is all related to the harvest. When will it be a perfect harvest? That there are no bad winds and the dew is good. The dew is always good, but it mentions 2 things: bad winds and something else destructive. So if you, during this time, you do the Ratzon of Hashem, then your count will be a perfect count. It's all a harvest thing. It's all Sfir, but it's a thank you for the harvest. Thank you, 1, barley offering, which allows for personal consumption of the grain. Thank you, number 2, Shavuos, the second offering, which allows for the old karbonis going forward to be used from a new crop. It's all a crop. Thank you, mitzvah. At the pshat level, it's got nothing to do either with Yitzias Mitzrayim or Matan Torah at the simple level, which is why the pasuk doesn't mention it. So Machar Shabbos, you start counting, and then the end is Chag HaShavuos doesn't say Matan Torah. It's one of the ployim. Nowhere in Torah is there a day to celebrate the giving of the Torah overtly. So that's the simple pshat. Em saying Tamima is, when will these days be whole and effective and a really good harvest and not damaged by undesirable elements? Bisman shisol ois return yishal mokim. That's the simple pshat. Now the pshat of the Maimer. The apia amavum bakama makimis, lighter that was explained in many places. Then you say the shal makim. What does it mean to make Hashem's will? When the service of Hashem is beyond b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha, but rather b'chol ba'itcha, l'maylim and medida v'akabala, beyond all limit. Now, what does he mean by that? In footnote 18, he tells us, see the Marsha in Berachos. So the origin of this is as follows. We've learned this, remember, friends. The Gemara in Berachos points out a contradiction. One pasuk says, you shall gather your grain yourself. And another pasuk says, V'amdu zorim v'rotzeinchem, and others will pasture your flocks and do it for you. So the Gemara answers, well, when you do the will of Hashem, others will perform your physical labors, freeing you to serve Hashem, learn and daven, etc. Bisman she'ein oisin etzreinu shel makom, then after the ganecha, you'll gather your grain yourself. Ask the Marsha, that's when you don't do Hashem's will? It's a reward for Vaymish Mayatishmu. That pasuk is the second part of the Shema. And it's a reward for fulfilling the commandments. And we're being blessed with a bountiful grain and yitzarecha and corn and wine, and the vat will be full. How the Gemara says Oisin Etzreinu shel makom? Says the Marsha, because it's not b'chol ba'itcha. That's what's missing here. And Chassidus explains, therefore, as follows. There's two ways to understand Oisin Etzreinu shel makom. Simple is fulfill Hashem's will. Well, if you, even without b'chol ba'itcha, you're doing mitzvahs. The deeper meaning is Oisin Etzreinu, you make the will. B'chol ba'itcha. So this explains that Avodah b'chol ba'itcha has the power, therefore, when it's Mesiras Nefesh, to retroactively fill gaps where you didn't do the will. Because you're mamshich from the Baal HaRotzin, and you're oisin the Rotzin. You're making yourself favorable to God retroactively, even when you were not. Oisin Etzreinu shel makom. That's the power of Teshuvah, b'chol ba'itcha, that can redeem the past. And the meaning here is oisin Etzreinu, because you draw on the Baal HaRotzin. You touch God that deeply that it transcends time and space, and the past is transformed. There's more to it, but that's the general idea. What we need to get from this is, oh, you made it? Okay, so let's get the flow again. So we're talking about the Avodah Sfiras Hayim, because I just said before that the Avodah Sfiras Hayim is a preparation for the refinement of Nefesh HaBamis, is a achana for Matan Torah. So now we're zeroing in on this Avodah. So the pasuk says, Sheva Shavuos is Tmimus Tiyana, this should be whole and complete. And the Medrash says, when Bisman Shisol Oisin Etzreinu shel makom. And Chassidus explains that to mean, as we just explained, that's the Avodah b'chol ba'itcha l'mayil medida v'akbala. Therefore, move on, now getting the flow. Getting the flow now. The Marsha Kosa b'Medrash Emes saying to Mimbis Bisman Shisol Oisin Etzreinu shel makom. So in light of that, which he says in Chassidus, he's just concluding the point I just said, that the Medrash talks about Oisin Etzreinu shel makom, that creates tmimus. It's understood that when the Avodah, Kishaveda, this Vesayim Bekshura Ima'av B'chol ba'itcha, it's understood that what's the whole Avodah of Sfiras Hayim, it's B'chol ba'itcha, because that's what's Oisin Etzreinu shel makom, which will lead into a question, but that's a statement. Well, Lahoyer, no, he adds in brackets, B'mokim acher Amr Razal, just derech hagav, I don't have answer to this. Here, Lahoyer, he puts sets off in square brackets. It's very clear that this is, a square bracket means it's a self-contained idea and doesn't affect the flow of the Maimon. But the previous Maimon, just notice it, that's why it threw me a bit. Then when he brought the Alter Rebbe's, the Medrash Shalafanenu, a different, it was Lahoyer. And normally Lahoyer is tangential. The whole Maimon goes on that. Why didn't he say, however, the Alter Rebbe has, like, not introduce it with this noteworthy, but rather it's, I don't know, and Temuga, so it's Meduyik. Just that's my little thing. Now back. Square brackets. So it's noteworthy that elsewhere Chazal say another answer to when are they tmimis? The Sheva Shabbos is tmimis, or when are the weeks whole and complete? When they actually follow the cycle of the week, when it starts on Sunday. The Sheva Shabbos is this b'Shabbos. When the count begins on Sunday, or Messiah is b'Shabbos and Shabbos and ends on the final Shabbos, then they're whole and complete. It's 7 weeks. No, not this year.
What's the Shabbos? We start on.
No, we finished the week Sunday.
What?
On Sunday, which is what's the Shabbos? We
finished the week on Sunday.
Right, we finished the week on Sunday.
Not this year. No, don't think so.
No.
One day off. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So when is it complete? When it follows the cycle of the week. So now putting the two Purushim together, we just said Tmimis means the Avodah B'chol Ma'itcha, and elsewhere it says Tmimis means when it follows the weekday. V'yashleima Hakesha the Shnei Purushim. There should be another copy. It's good to share, but you can get a copy. Connection between the two Purushim. And those years, Sheva Shabbos, this Vidisayim he Maschil is Becha b'Shabbos and Masam b'Shabbos. Those years which starts on Sunday and ends on Shabbos, B'nei Kol Yoser. It's easier. Sha'avodah this Vidisayim etir ba'ifrim to b'chol ba'itcha. It's easier that the avodah should be b'chol ba'itcha. The two Purushim are connected. The explanation he doesn't tell us, although I know it is addressed elsewhere. But just to suggest when it's lined up with the shtalshalos, and it's easier then. Okay, shtalshalos is taken care of. Now the avodah is beyond. When it matches Pashat with the Seder in the world, so the world begashmish is more inclined, lined up to receiving that which is above it.
And like he says in the next order, that it was the year of Chafei, that the Maimer was said, came on such a Kviyas, and also the year that the Maimer was Muge, Tafshin Nun Aleph, it was the same. Year. It was the same Kviyas.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wonder. In Israel, where there's one day of Yom Tov, right? They start counting after the first night, right?
So we're the same as we do, the same thing.
They're the same thing.
We count when it's Yom Tov also.
They start counting.
And Mochatz Shabbos. For us, it's the second night Yom Tov. For them, it's Chol Hamoed.
So they start counting Chol Hamoed, the first day of Chol Hamoed.
The literal Mochatz Shabbos, day after Yom Tov. Yeah. You actually raise a good question. What did they do when they really had a doubt in the day? When did they start counting the Omer? When it came to Shavuos, they all knew when it was because there was enough time for Bestin to get there. But what did they do about the count? Make a bracha? Mamish a suffix? I don't know the answer. It's a whole discussion. In the Golas, outside Israel, when it was a real doubt. We keep Sveika the Yoma only because the Minig Avasena B'Yadenu. We know when it is. They did, so we continue. So this says we continue because we need a double dosage in Golas. We need a double dosage. But for them, it was a real suffix. So how did they actually count? Mistama, they counted both nights and didn't make a brach. Till they found out when.
You make one brach and count both.
Huh?
You make one brach and count both counts, no?
But the first night, can they make a brach on the first night?
First night.
Okay, so we just, what are we saying that? We're saying that the avodah of Sfiras Omer Tmimos is when Ois in the traditional Malkim, when that's the avodah B'chol Ma'itcha. That's what we just said. Now he's adding, elaborating. Why does the avodah have to be? It's not enough. But with Mesiras Nefesh. And why is this integral to the whole counting? That's when it's Tmimis. The reason is, it's all about a preparation for Matan Torah. Since the Achana has to incorporate both things, Yitzias Mitzrayim ubiro nefesh bahamis. So it's not just the biro nefesh bahamis, it's also the going out of Mitzrayim. Achana has to be a preparation in every respect. Lachein tzarich lis b'sfiras ha'omer. In addition to biro, the counting of the omer has to have in it noisef la inyan abiru amid nefesh bahamis gam b'aveda b'chol ba'itcha. That will have to be done in Yitzias Mitzrayim dik away. There's a way to refine the nefesh bahamis not with mesiras nefesh necessarily. It's also a refinement, but that's not going to be the achana for Matan Torah. It has to be avodah b'chol ma'itcha l'maylim medida v'hakbala. Hayitzim in Mitzrayim, you have to go out of Mitzrayim, be in the birur, in the avodah sfiras ha'omer, melosha meitzar v'hakbala. We have to go out of Mitzrayim, which with Mitzrayim of course means limitation. So now that we're left with is what? What's the conclusion? That the avodah of sfiras ha'omer as achon of Matan Torah has to be tmimos, has to be b'chol ma'itcha. Why? We understand the reason, l'chayra, because since Matan Torah is all about going out of limitations, the achona therefore also has to be in that way. So the avodah, the birur of the nefesh bahamis has to be in a way b'chol ma'itcha mesiras nefesh. In other words, what's the birur without mesiras nefesh? It's obviously it's possible to have a birur without mesiras nefesh. That a person trains himself, you want to enjoy life. That's nefesh bahamis wants to enjoy life, and you appreciate that the real enjoyment, the real geschmack is the life of Yiddishkeit. That's not mesiras nefesh. That's in fact trading one pleasure for a better one, more fulfilling one. That would be the birur, not with b'chol ma'itcha. B'chol ma'itcha is pashat, pushing the self, the nefesh bahamis beyond its limit, pushing the envelope constantly. So we understand that has to be a mesiras nefesh, even when you don't enjoy it, etc. Breaking yourself, skafia. That's b'chol ma'itcha. Just to remind you, there's a famous Ramban. The Ramban says on Kedoshim Tiyu, you shall be holy. He says very strong words. It's possible for a person to be a novel, an avela, like an abomination, birshus haTorah. Everything is glad kosher, and everything is, it's all, and it's all sanctioned by Torah. B'chol ma'itcha is breaking that. So what this now leads to the question. So it comes out, therefore, we have to understand that according to this, it comes out, in order to receive Torah, it's not enough to elevate nefesh bahamis without mesiras nefesh. That's not enough. It has to be with b'chol ma'itcha. And the fact that the Chazal say, when is the avodah of sfiras ha'omer complete? Mashmash ikira inyan sfiras ha'omer. It comes out that what's the main avodah sfiras ha'omer achon l'matan Torah? It is the birur hamidas and nefesh bahamis. It's refining the animal soul. But the question is, you can, as we just said, you can elevate the nefesh bahamis without b'chol ma'itcha. So the avodah b'chol ma'itcha just adds a shleimus to the achana. So what's our question? Contradiction. On the one hand, we said the l'chayr it's mucharach because why? Because since Matan Torah is Yitzias Mitzrayim, so the avodah before that will have to be an avodah which is b'chol ma'itcha. Yet the lashon Chazal is aiming saying tmimos. And when is it perfect when it's b'chol ma'itcha? But it could be a year like this, now this year, not the year of the Maimer, where you don't have it, the week isn't aligned, which means it's not so easy, which means that's mucharach, it's good. The fact is, you can be mavada. The fact is, when Maimer Chazal, Amos is saying tmimos, he's saying it's good without, but it's tmimos with b'chol ma'itcha. So it's a contradiction. Is the avodah b'chol ma'itcha critical or not critical? Well, we explained that it is, because Matan Torah is Yitzias Mitzrayim, but the Lashon HaMedrash doesn't convey that. That's it, the inside. That's the first question. We clear? But not mochach, not absolutely necessary. We're clear? And we said it is because Yetzias Mitzrayim, we pointed, Matan Torah is going out of limitations. And therefore the Achronim must have that property of going out of limitations. But from Loshen Chazal, it's nice and beautiful, it's mimis, but not mukhrach. Clear? That seems to be the shaila, yeah? But where are we? And even more so not understood, the given shin the Matan Torah Gilida Anoichi. Once the Matan Torah, the revelation of the eye of Hashem, Mahus Vatzmusa Shalamarla Maili Megeder Ishtal Shalos. The Eibish's essence beyond. The whole Geder, the whole construct of Ishtalshalos. I just want to ask you, why does he say Maila? What's wrong with the one Maila? Why two? What does the second one add over the first?
B'chol ma'itcha. Does it B'chol ma'itcha means Mila? Mila Stam doesn't mean.
I'm just put aside B'chol ma'itcha, talking about the Eibishter, Mahusevat Musay. Talking about God, they're just talking about him. Why is it not enough to say he's Lamaila Megeder Ishtalshalos? What is added by saying Shalamaila? Huh?
My in case.
She just threw another Maimon Chazal at me. Okay, shkoyach.
Ha'ora de ha'ora, the same.
Huh?
Ha'ora de ha'ora.
Again, English to our McGill student and to our Ponyevich Talmud. He's thirsting to understand the what Chassidus. Mila means above, but it still means related to. Seivev kol almin. Infinite is Mila, but infinite is described by not being finite. So therefore, it's a relationship to finite. Beyond implies beyond something. So that's Ein Sof, that's it. Aseivev is beyond. That's correct. Mila means beyond. And then language stops. No point in continuing. But we just got to lay that on the table. The Eibush is not beyond. He's beyond the whole inyan of beyond. Hence the double lashon Mila. Okay, let's get the question. Since the whole Matan Torah is a gilav anoichit atzmos shalom Mila megeder shtal shalos. Hari avoid amasim lam shacha giluzeh. So what would be the appropriate avodah for this revelation? L'chayda avodah b'chol meitcha. It would have to be the avodah b'chol meitcha. L'mayli mishtal shas b'shabadam. You make achon, it's got to be me'en. What your achon force? So we're going to go beyond ourselves. V'yafa piken. Nonetheless, ikar avodas for the saimer. The main avodas for the saimer will be the midas nefesh ba'amis. Now he's adding a nuance here. How are you elevating? We're not talking about breaking. We're talking about refining the midas nefesh ba'amis. And he adds in brackets. Shebechdei levar midas nefesh ba'amis or dafka deish nefesh alikis mislabeshes b'nefesh ba'amis. You got to get down into the nefesh ba'amis' world, and nefesh ba'amis has to understand all of this. So we have to revisit this because I was saying before, there's two ways to elevate the Nefesh Bahamis in a way of engaging it. Sorry, retract. He's separating it. Nefesh Bahamis says one thing, B'chol Ma'itcha is another avodah, because that's completely breaking self. Gamrano. I mean, what I said is true, but that's not called bitter. That's not bitter. That's breaking. Bitter is islapshus. Islapshus means, as I said before, we're born naturally, and it has to begin this way. We're born selfish. Nefesh Bahamis fundamentally can never change that. It just broke off again. No, that's not. Are you guys? You still on? Yeah, it's good. I didn't tell my kids they were davening late today. Okay, you just tell them. It's a bit late davening today. It's Victoria Day. I forgot to tell you. I was going to send you. Okay, so speak soon. Okay, right. So bir nefesh habamis by definition means islapshus. You want to enjoy life. That's the whole davening, friends. The whole davening is we get to Krishna Machol Avavcha, the whole Birchas Krishna, as Alter was explaining in Tanya the last couple of days in Chitas. It's all these abundance of the Besho'oh. You're looking for Gishmak and Tainug. There's nothing more beautiful than a life of Yiddishkeit. So his question is, that shouldn't be the primary avodah. If we're preparing for Matan Torah, it's got to be breaking Mesiras Nefesh, B'chol Ma'itcha, not engagement. And Bidu by definition means engagement. Sfiras Hayim is engagement. In brackets again. It's the question is, that's the avodah that's mamshich anoichi, because that's the main avodah, not Mesiras Nefesh, but it's lapshus. That's a strong question. I said before, it wasn't clear enough separating the two. Bitter is islapshus. B'chol Ma'itcha is not bitter, breaking. And we're saying, no, it's not breaking, it's bitter. So when he asked before the question, how can we say that throughout bitter we are mamshich atzmos? The question gets like stronger now. We have this choice here, b'chol ma'itcha, and it's definitely part of the achana. Amos saying tmimos when it's when ois netzenu shamokim, but that is secondary too. The avodah of within engaging, taking the Besho'oh along for the ride, not breaking him, but refining him and showing him the self, that this is the most beautiful life. That's the achana from Matan Torah. That's the shaila.
Rephrase it as iskafia versus.
Speak up.
Do you rephrase it as iskafia and isapcha essentially? Iskafia is you push the nefesh habamis out of the way and you do what you have to do. And isapcha, you bring it along.
No, that might be an answer because that's higher. If he doesn't say that, so I don't know. We'll see. All right, friends. Beis Hashem tomorrow.